Is your avoidant ex employing what's called a indirect reach out to get your attention after a breakup? I've been seeing this a lot with my clients recently, so I figured I would do a video explaining what this is, and you might notice that this has happened to you, and we can talk about what to do about it. Now, keep in mind that for someone who leans more avoidant, and I say leans because this isn't their identity, but someone who leans more into that DA programming, their fears are probably going to be around commitment and vulnerability and responsibility towards someone, especially emotionally. Anything that makes them feel trapped or smothered or maybe like they don't have complete autonomy. They also tend to be very uncomfortable with direct conflict, especially when emotionality is high. And they are the slowest emotional processors. It takes them a while to really decipher how they're feeling, and then they have to somehow articulated, and all of that is very difficult for them. Lastly, what's important to keep in mind for this concept of the indirect reach out is that if a DA is going to set a boundary or try to express something, they will tend to do that more with actions or with very kind of vague surface level words rather than writing the tome that someone who's more anxious or FA might write, which is not a judgment. I've been there. The breakup has happened, and there's usually a period of silence with a DA when they tend to be more deactivated, compartmentalized, numb. They may even be experiencing some relief. And then as time goes on, not for, how do I want to say this? At some point, all DAs will have to activate and kind of come back online, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to reach out. So they don't always come back per se, but they do always have to at some point deal with their feelings, even if that means it comes out sideways in health or addiction. And that's another topic for another day. So after the initial period of silence, you may start to notice that your DAX comes back into your life in seemingly confusing and bizarre ways. So I'm going to give you some examples that I've seen with clients. I have seen them drop things off at front doors. I've actually had two different clients where their ex dropped off a birthday card at their front door, but they weren't there. It was just a handwritten card, and it was, again, sort of quippy and lighthearted, which doesn't at all align with the action of going to your ex's door. I've seen a DA mail a kind of care package like thing to one of my clients, but there actually was no note. It was just a few little things that were a theme in their relationship, and there was no follow-up. It was just the care package. I've also had clients whose DA exes had their friends reach out to my client to kind of gauge or temperature take their interest. This will show up in things like sending videos. So if someone is just stalking you, following your stories, and watching everything you do, I would not categorize that as an indirect reach out. But if someone is sending you videos, bids for connection is a good way to think about it. Something that is a bid for connection, maybe like responding with emojis or putting a lot of likes, and any form of actual engagement that isn't just watching, I think could be potentially characterized as an indirect reach out. If they're going to reach out verbally, remember DAs like to keep things sort of surface level and suggest that they are chill and breezy. So it might be something like, let's say you have a family member. I mean, this isn't light, but in terms of touching on the relationship itself, they might say, oh, how is your uncle who was sick with this thing? Or how is your dog? That something that's a point of communication that doesn't have to elicit strong emotions. What to do with these indirect reach outs? So it really is up to you. If you want to get back together with your ex, I know that these indirect reach outs feel amazing, but DAs will stay in the indirect reach out orbit for quite some time, if not indefinitely. And they may never precipitate like an actual deep conversation. It can be a way of expressing their confusion or sort of parsing out their confusion without having to take action, which is why I think if you don't want to get back together with your ex, then you can just block them. But the majority of people who are watching my content do want to get back together with their ex, and I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't. I'm just speaking to your desires. If that's what you want, in my opinion, I would suggest reaching out to your ex and letting them know that you are noticing these things. And if they don't want to have a direct conversation with you, then you would prefer that they don't do these things. Because even though they give you a hit of dopamine, ultimately they're going to leave you in suffering because you're going to be waiting for the next bigger step and it may not come, or you may just be torturing yourself during this interim period. So anyway, this video is getting long, but let me know what you guys think about this and if you want me to expand on anything.